Welcome back to WION World is One. Thank you so much for staying with us. My name is Hem Korsaro and here's what we've lined up for you on Speed News today. Israel has claimed responsibility for gunfire on the vehicle of the UN World Food Programme, blaming a communication error between its military units. The food agency has suspended movement of its employees across Gaza until further notice, calling the incident totally unacceptable. US Deputy Ambassador to the United Nations, while addressing the Security Council meeting on Gaza, said Israel must not only take ownership for its mistakes but also take concrete steps to ensure the IDF does not fire on UN personnel again. According to the Palestinian Health Ministry, over 30 were killed in Israeli attacks in the last 24 hours. This as violence rages on in Gaza. The World Health Organization said Israel has agreed to at least 3 days of humanitarian pauses in parts of the Strip, starting Sunday to facilitate a polio vaccination drive. However, in the occupied West Bank, Israeli forces continue with their raids. 16 Palestinians have been killed since Wednesday, as per the Israeli military. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu continues to face the heat for Hamas's October 7th attack. Opposition leader Yair Lapid cited a joint security briefing, which he said he attended with Netanyahu in August 2023. He claimed that they were warned that things were heating up on Israel's various fronts, but that Netanyahu ignored the signs. In the latest, an Israeli intelligence officer in the Gaza division has stepped down over failure to prevent the attack. The much-wanted F-16 has failed its first test in the Ukrainian theatre of conflict. Kyiv's military said an F-16 fighter jet that was used by Ukraine crashed on Monday. It is the first such loss reported since the ongoing awaited arrival of the US-made planes in the country, since the arrival was confirmed earlier this month. The Ukrainian military said that the jet came down and its pilot died while it was approaching a target during a Russian airstrike. Analysts have also raised doubts that Ukrainian pilots have not been trained well enough to fly these machines. Pentagon spokesperson Sabrina Singh has said that the Department of Defense has no knowledge of Ukraine seeking assistance after the crash. Singh did not reveal how many American F-16s are currently in Ukraine, but she expressed pride in the US training of some of the Ukrainian pilots flying the jets, noting that they are defending their skies and their country. UK Prime Minister Keir Starmer has confirmed that his government is considering extending smoking bans in some outdoor English areas. The ban would extend to pub and restaurant gardens and terraces, outdoor sports stadiums, children's parks, citing data. Starmer said that over 80,000 people in the UK lose their lives every year because of smoking. He also cited the huge burden on state-run National Health Service and on the taxpayer as well. However, pub and restaurant industry figures promptly criticized the ban, arguing that it could deter customers in a market that's already struggling with the long-term fallout from the pandemic and a cost of living crisis. A Danish court has rejected India's request to extradite Neil Hall. The 62-year-old has been alleged by Indian authorities for supplying weapons to Naxals in West Bengal to fight the Indian forces in 1995. The court said that handing over Hawk would violate Denmark's Extradition Act and European Convention on Human Rights. Prosecutors can appeal the decision within the next 3 days. As investigation continues into the rape and murder case of a trainee doctor at Kolkata's RG Hospital, the father of the victim has declined to take responsibility for the leaked conversations between him and a staff of the hospital. 3 audio recordings of phone calls have been circulated on social media. They were allegedly made by RG authorities on the morning of the 9th of August to the parents of the trainee doctor, raising questions on whether the hospital officials were initially attempting to cover up the crime. But now, when the victim's father has been asked if the voice on the phone is his, he said that he did not see it and that this issue will not affect the investigation. As the doctors await justice in the rape and murder of a trainee doctor in Kolkata, a survey conducted by the Indian Medical Association, it found that over 1/3 of Indian doctors, primarily young women, feel unsafe while doing night shifts. The study found that the doctors working mainly in government hospitals feel unsafe due to the absence of duty rooms without bathrooms, insufficient and untrained security staff, inadequately lit corridors, no CCTV cameras, as well as unrestricted entry of unauthorized individuals into patient areas. Bangladesh's caretaker government has withdrawn the special security cover accorded to former Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina and her close relatives. The Mohammed Yunus-led advisory council said the interim government is firmly committed to eliminating all forms of discrimination. Earlier, Bangladesh's Ministry of Home Affairs cancelled the diplomatic passports of Sheikh Hasina, her advisors, former cabinet members and all members of the 12th Parliament. Sheikh Hasina currently faces more than 75 cases in Bangladesh, nearly half of them murder charges. In another development, a Dhaka court imposed travel ban on 8 former ministers and 6 former members of parliament from the Awami League party. This order was issued by Dhaka Metropolitan Sessions Court in response to a request from the Anti-Corruption Commission. Bangladesh's interim health ministry has said that the last month's anti-government protests in Bangladesh killed more than 1,000 people, making it the bloodiest period in the country's history since its independence. The ministry also said over 400 students lost their eyesight during the violent protests against public sector job quotas, which later intensified into an uprising against Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina, forcing her to resign and flee. China has released its first survey report on Friday, accusing the Philippines Coast Guard of damaging its coral reef near the Sabina Shoal region in the disputed South China Sea. Further, China has urged the Philippines to remove its Coast Guard vessel near one of its islands in Sabina Shoal. A Chinese spokesperson said that the Coast Guard vessel has been anchored illegally for a long time, threatening peace and stability in the region. In addition, China has accused the United States for the frequent provocation by the Philippines vessel at the South China Sea. The United States has offered to escort the Philippines vessels on resupply missions to outposts in disputed South China Sea. Philippines Military Chief General Romeo Brawner welcomed the offer but said that he will only use it as a last resort. He also added that if nothing works, that's the time they can reach out for help. This comes just after U.S. National Security Advisor Jake Sullivan's 3-day visit to China. Democratic presidential candidate Kamala Harris said she has toughened her stance on migration along the southern U.S. border with Mexico. In the first interview of her US presidential campaign with CNN, the 59-year-old said she no longer wants a ban on fracking, an energy production method that employs many people in swing state Pennsylvania. Harris also discussed the possibility of adding a Republican to her potential cabinet, saying that she wanted a diversity of opinions. Kamala Harris gave the interview while on a campaign bus tour of Georgia, one of the 7 battleground states that are expected to decide the November 5th election. In the interview with CNN, Democratic presidential candidate Kamala Harris accused Donald Trump of dividing the nation, saying that Americans are ready to turn the page on him. However, she brushed aside Trump's recent comments questioning her racial identity, calling it same old tired playbook. Meanwhile, in a rally in Savannah, Kamala Harris attacked Donald Trump on the issue of abortion. She said former president does not trust women and insists that she will sign a national abortion ban. Following Vice President Kamala Harris' sit-down interview, Republican presidential candidate Donald Trump said that Kamala Harris did not look like a leader to him. On the other hand, the former president, ramping up his campaign in battleground states of Michigan and Wisconsin, said that if he won a second term, he will make IVF treatment free for families. With the US elections right around the corner, Vice President Kamala Harris is leading former President Trump by a wide margin among women and Hispanic voters. Since Biden quit the presidential race, Harris has gained ground against Trump in national polls, and that too in critical swing states. A Reuters Ipsos poll published on Thursday showed Harris with 45% support among registered voters, while Trump had 41%. The polls revealed that Harris' stance on reproductive rights issues is part of what's moving the women's vote in her favor. But in the 7 states where the 2020 election was the closest, Trump had a 45% to 43% lead over Harris in the latest poll. The new poll also showed Trump led among white voters and men, both by similar margins as in July. Core inflation in Japan's capital accelerated for a 4th straight month in August. Data showed that inflation was comfortably above the central bank's 2% target and backing market expectations of more interest rate hikes ahead. The Tokyo Core Consumer Price Index, which excludes volatile fresh food costs, rose to 2.4% in August from a year prior. The accelerated Tokyo inflation, considered a leading indicator of nationwide trends, largely reflects a phase-out of government subsidies on utility bills and rising rice prices due to intensifying shortages caused by extreme heat. Elon Musk and his electric vehicle company Tesla won the dismissal of a federal lawsuit accusing them of defrauding investors by hyping the cryptocurrency Dogecoin and conducting insider trading, causing billions of dollars of losses. The decision was issued on Thursday night by U.S. District Judge Alvin Hellerstein in Manhattan. Investors accused the world's richest person of using Twitter posts and other publicity stunts of trade profitably at their expense through several Dogecoin wallets that him or Tesla controlled. They also said that Musk deliberately drove up Dogecoin's price more than 36,000% over 2 years and then let it crash. Uber CEO on Friday expressed commitment to the South Korean market, where it is an underdog to local tech group Kakao. and said the platform will attract more taxi drivers for growth. Kakao has more than 90% market share of taxi hailing estimated based on app usage data. Uber first entered the South Korean market in 2013 but pulled out due to regulations that only allow companies with taxi licenses to offer ride services. In 2021, Uber re-entered the market by setting up a joint venture with Korea's second largest conglomerate, SK Group. Dell Technologies raised its annual revenue and profit forecast, buoyed by demand for its AI-optimized servers that are powered by NVIDIA's powerful chips, sending its shares up about 3% in extended trading. Dell's Infrastructure Solutions Group, which includes NVIDIA-powered servers, surged 38% to a record revenue of $11.65 billion in the second quarter. The company's servers are engineered to handle AI systems' intense computational demands, including training large language models. Typhoon Haiyan slowly barreled up the Japanese archipelago on Friday, dumping torrential rain and causing transport havoc as its reported death toll reached 5. Referred to as Typhoon number 10 by the weather agency, it weakened to a tropical storm later on Thursday and is slowly moving east-northeast at the speed of about 10 kilometers per hour near Kunisaki in Oita Prefecture as of today morning. A level 5 emergency warning, which is rarely issued, it's the highest level warning which urges residents to take immediate life-saving action, has been issued in parts of Oita in the Kyushu region as well as in Saitama and Kanagawa in the Kanto area. And this as outer bands of the storm brings severe conditions to the capital and its neighboring prefectures. A group of scientists from World Weather Attribution have revealed that climate change turbocharged the winds and rain of Typhoon Haiyan. The deadly typhoon killed dozens of people across the Philippines, Taiwan and China earlier this year. The network of scientists looked at 3 regions worst affected by the typhoon, that are the northern Philippines, Taiwan and China's Hunan province. This is to assess the role of climate change in extreme events. They found that the system's wind speeds were 7% more intense due to man-made climate change, and its rainfall was 14% heavier in Taiwan and 9% heavier in Hunan. They also found that the warm seas that helped form and fuel Typhoon Haiyan, would have been eventually impossible in a world that had not warmed 1.2 degrees Celsius above pre-industrial levels. A Brazilian Supreme Court judge, Alexander de Moraes, has ordered the freezing of financial accounts of Elon Musk's Starlink. Starlink confirmed on X that the court's decision has halted its financial operations in Brazil. Starlink is a satellite internet service from Musk's SpaceX company. According to sources, the country's action was triggered by the absence of legal representatives from Musk's social media platform X in Brazil. Moraes and Musk have been publicly clashing for months following X's failure to comply with court orders to block accounts accused of spreading misinformation and hate speech. According to a report, US government-funded research has led to over 1,000 patents granted to China-based inventors since 2010. These patents cover critical areas like biotechnology and semiconductors. The patents were supported by US agencies such as the Department of Defense, NASA and the Department of Health and Human Services. Data from the US Patent Office has revealed that 1,020 patents with at least one China-residing inventor received partial US funding between 2010 and early 2024. This development might amplify calls to cancel or renegotiate the landmark US-China Science and Technology Agreement. Elon Musk's AI startup XAI is facing criticism from environmental and health advocates for allegedly contributing to pollution in Memphis, Tennessee. It's reported that the company is using natural gas burning turbines at its data center without obtaining necessary permits. It is estimated that these 20 gas turbines have a combined capacity of 100 MW, which is enough electricity to power around 50,000 homes. According to the report, the gas turbines emit large quantities of gas that exacerbate the poor air quality in Memphis. Meta reportedly is working on a mixed reality device that resembles a bulky pair of glasses. Internally code-named Puffin, the new project is focused on designing an alternative to the heavy headsets offered by Meta, which have a limited consumer appeal. Reports suggest, unlike Quest headsets, the new Puffin device may not include handheld controllers. Instead, users might be able to operate it with hand gestures and eye movements. The Puffin project is in the early stages. It is expected to be released in 2027. For latest news, download the WION app and subscribe to our YouTube channel.